So far in 2023, waiver wires have been packed with superstar players for fantasy football. Here today, I'm giving you my top 10 must-add waiver wire pickups for week 5. Hopefully, we're going to help you improve some of your teams. Now, before we get into my number 1 pickup of the week, I'm just going to quickly tell you about some players that should already be rostered, okay? You can see these names on the screen. A lot of running backs and tight ends. If these guys are available on your waivers, they would take priority. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to my top 10. My number 1 pickup of the week. If you guys are with us over on the Dynasty channel, you guys know I already love this player. Talked about him a lot over there before the draft. Michael Wilson, wide receiver with the Arizona Cardinals. He's available in 84% of ESPN leagues and 46% of sleeper leagues. So depending on what league you're in, he's either widely available or he might be out there and you should definitely go and check. I love me some Michael Wilson. In our Dynasty leagues this offseason, there were 2 names that were kind of auto picks for me in the 3rd and 4th rounds of rookie drafts. That was Puka Nacua and Michael Wilson. Love these guys, love their skill sets, love their landing spots. We made multiple videos about you buying those 2 players, but Michael Wilson has emerged as a key piece for this Arizona Cardinals offense already here in week 4. In week 4, he put up a career high in targets, receptions, and touchdowns. He saw 7 targets on 35 routes. That is a 20% clip on which he was targeted, which is far higher than Rondale Moore's 5% clip here. So he could slowly but surely be taking over that wide receiver 2 role in Arizona. We have a young rookie, talented route runner whose role could continually grow over time. You guys know I'm all in on Michael Wilson. Josh Dobbs has been a competent quarterback for his wide receivers for fantasy purposes. And even outside of fantasy, the guy's been pretty good. I mean, completing over 70% of his passes so far. He has 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, and has a QBR of over 67. So look, when I'm looking at fab, how much I'll spend about 15 to 20% of my fab. I think that might even be a little bit too high, but somewhere in that range. I think it's worth picking up a rookie who has already broken out, had a breakout game. You know, the odds are is that he's going to continually get more involvement. And I'll just say this now, okay? Because I could easily make this video and lie to everyone here and say there are superstars across the board on waiver wires this week. But I'm not going to lie to you, okay? I don't believe there is a single 100% fab player in today's waiver wire pickups, okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. There's no Puka Nacua. There is no Kyron Williams. There's no Devon Achane. Just so we're on the same page, I appreciate honesty, and hopefully you do too, but my number 1 pickup is Michael Wilson. All right, my second priority this week, another guy I'm very excited to watch, Jameson Williams, wide receiver of the Detroit Lions, available in 84% of ESPN leagues and 46% of sleeper leagues. We finally get to see a healthy Jameson Williams in the Detroit offense. Remember, his rookie year, he was drafted top 15 pick in the NFL draft, great draft capital, good landing spot, but he was recovering from an ACL injury that happened to him in the national championship with Alabama. Now, in his rookie year, when he came back, he flashed a couple times, but he never really looked quite like himself. And he and Jared Goff were just not on the same page whatsoever. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Like, they weren't on the same page because Jameson wasn't at camp. He didn't have a chance to build rapport with Jared Goff. He had that chance this offseason, so he should be on a better page with him coming off the suspension. Don't forget how lethal he was at Alabama. He and Bryce Young were an unstoppable force. He put up 79 receptions, almost 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns in his last year at Bama. Just ridiculous numbers. And when I scouted him myself over on the Dynastyland channel, he reminded me a lot of Hollywood Brown and Deshaun Jackson. I'm very excited to see him finally in the NFL, and he joins an offense that is humming on all cylinders. They're 3-1. They're top 8 in offensive points per game. And the way they established the run over there in Detroit, Jameson could be the perfect missing piece. I kept saying this when I was watching games this year, like when it was Marvin Jones, when it was Josh Reynolds, when it was a random wide receiver not named Amon-Ra. I'm thinking to myself, man, Jameson is the missing piece kind of the last stone, if you will, Avengers Endgame style. But I'm willing to spend about 15% of my fab on him if he's available. All right, my number 3 priority, and I think you'll see a lot of variance across different channels this week because I think it's very up for interpretation this week, but that would be Chuba Hubbard for me. He's available in a lot of leagues, 82% of ESPN leagues and 67% of sleeper leagues. There's no way around this. Chuba Hubbard is outplaying Miles Sanders. Plain and simple, that's happening. And I really loved Miles Sanders coming in. So this is coming from someone who's a Miles Sanders guy, quote unquote. Now we have to keep in mind that this week, Miles Sanders was dealing with a groin injury. And that's an injury that he's been dealing with even before the year began. But Chuba was the better running back this week. Chuba outsnapped Miles 38-32. He ran more routes, 17-13. And then Miles ended the day with 2 more touches, 17-15 total touches. However, on those touches, Chuba was the far more efficient running back. Miles averaged just 1.5 yards per attempt and 32 total yards. It was rough out there for Miles. And then Chuba was around the 3 yards per attempt mark, 53 total yards. He wasn't a superstar himself, but on the entire year as a whole, he has been really efficient and far better per touch than Miles Sanders. Let's look at the first 3 games of the season. Yards per attempt, Miles Sanders was averaging 3.4 yards per attempt, and Chuba was at 6.5, far more efficient on the year. And if you want to look at yards per touches, basically every time you touch the ball, how many yards were you getting on average? Miles was at 3.9, Chuba at 5.9. Now, this shouldn't be a huge surprise because typically your relievers should be more efficient than the starter. They're on the field less, they're less fatigued, they're fresher with every touch. The defense doesn't focus on the reliever like they do on the starter. However, when you look at Miles' lack of efficiency and how difficult it is to find a starting running back in fantasy, you combine those factors with the fact that he is dealing with a groin injury, that doesn't go away typically. This makes Chuba a must-add for me, and he kind of goes towards the top of the list as one of these must-own handcuffs. So I'm willing to spend about 10 to 15% of my fab on him. Okay, my number 4 priority today is CJ Stroud, quarterback for the Texans. He's available in 69% of ESPN leagues and 44% of sleeper leagues. If you are streaming quarterback, CJ Stroud, if he's out there, should be unquestionably your number 1 pickup this week. We talked about Stroud last week, so hopefully you were able to pick him up then. But if he's out there, go grab him. I'm getting a lot of flashbacks to Justin Herbert's rookie year. I wonder if anyone out there is with me. I actually compared their first 4 games and I put them side by side. CJ Stroud, you can see completion percentage. Justin Herbert was better in that area for sure. Passing yards, Stroud has more passing yards than Herbert. Touchdowns, Herbert had the advantage, but interceptions, Stroud hasn't thrown 1. You know, Herbert was at 3 at this point into the year. Similar quarterback rating, and on a per game basis, both averaged over 21 points per game through their first 4 starts. And CJ Stroud just keeps making history. Stroud has the 2nd most passing yards through 4 games by any player in NFL history. Only Cam Newton has more passing yards at this point through 4 starts. He's also the 2nd quarterback in NFL history with 0 interceptions in his first 4 starts with a minimum of 30 passing attempts in each start. Only he and Gardner Minshew have done that, which is actually kind of funny to see. I am confidently saying now that Stroud is no longer in the streaming category. He's in the weekly starter category for me in fantasy football. So anywhere about 15 to 20% of my fab. Now look, if you're desperate at quarterback and you just really want a solidified guy, you could spend more, but that's going to be up to you. Okay, we'll get to my number 5 priority here in 1 second. However, if you want to support the channel and what we do, we offer weekly rankings, we offer personalized advice, we offer great articles. All you have to do is use our promo code LAND, sign up to the Flock Fantasy website. You'll get 30% off with our membership. Check out all the perks that you get over there. You can support the show. You can be a better fantasy player. You can get weekly rankings. You can get a direct DM to us for advice if you sign up to the Mother Flocker tier over there. So go check it out. I'm sure that you're going to love it. My number 5 priority here today is a guy that's going under the radar. In sleeper leagues, he's well rostered, but in ESPN leagues, for some reason, he's still widely available. Romeo Doubs. If Romeo Doubs is out there in any of your leagues, he's available in 66% of ESPN leagues. He should not be on the waiver wire. He should be rostered. He's going under the radar, way under the radar. In his first 2 games, Doubs was limited. He wasn't a full-time player. He was recovering from an injury, and he only played 62% of snaps, but he still put up 2 touchdowns and averaged almost 12 PPR points per game. In his last 2 games, when he has been healthy, he is averaging 7 receptions per game, 12.5 targets per game, which is ridiculous, 84 yards per game, and half a touchdown, as well as 18.4 PPR game points per game, 12.5 targets per game. That's ridiculous in the last 2 weeks. Right now, 12.5 targets per game would be good for 4th most amongst wide receivers in the first 3 weeks. And his rest of season schedule is very favorable. 8 of his 13 remaining matchups, I would consider plus matchups. They are in the top 16, the top half of the league for wide receivers. We heard about the Love and Dobbs connection all offseason, and we are seeing that become truth, become reality. Now, Christian Watson, I believe he's still the number 1 on this team. He's just getting acclimated. He was on a snap count. They didn't let him go full beans, but he's going to be the guy. But that doesn't mean that Dobbs can't succeed as well. I'll spend about 15% of my fab on Romeo. All right, do you need a tight end? Well, I'm going to hook you up here. Jake Ferguson should be rostered if you need a tight end. Even if you have a starting tight end, get Jake Ferguson. There's no way he should be available in 76% of ESPN leagues. Absolutely not. Jake Ferguson's season is here. I have so much stock of him on my Dynasty taxi spots that I am absolutely loving it so far. He's coming off a career high in receptions and receiving yards. In week 3, Jake led the entire Dallas Cowboys team in targets, receptions, and receiving yards. At the time of recording this video, he is the tight end 4 on the week with 14.7 PPR points. On the year, he's had 7 targets in 3 of 4 games, averaging 6.3 targets per game. This offense is one of the best offenses in the NFL through 4 weeks. And with how difficult it is to find a good tight end for fantasy, Jake is a must-add in every platform. Unquestionably, I'll spend about 15 to 20% of my fab on him. All right, my 7th pickup. I'm going to help out a certain demographic here, and that's everyone who's streaming defenses. Now, some people don't play with defense. That's fine. Some people do. In a couple of my home leagues, I still do. So my 7th pickup this week in priority is the Washington Commanders defense. They are my favorite streaming defense of the week. If you're like me, you do stream defenses. And at the time of recording, the Commanders are tied for 7th in sacks per game. We know you get points with sacks and turnovers. And they face the Chicago Bears, who, get this, are currently 3rd. They give up the 3rd most amount of sacks per game. Justin Fields has been sacked a lot. And the Bears have the 5th worst turnover margin in the league. So they're getting sacked a lot. The Commanders are sacking at a high rate, and the Bears are turning the ball over quite frequently. This could be a game where the Commanders' defensive line feasts. Chase Young, John Allen, De'Aaron Payne. It could be an absolute feast by that defense. So that's my start of the week. Pick them up now before it's, well into the week and people are already talking about it. Now, with the Commanders and every player onwards, I'm not spending any percent of my fab. They're just a pickup, right? I'll spend 0% of my fab. I'll pick them up. I'll try and just be the highest priority waiver pickup in my league, if that makes sense. All right, my 8th pickup is Terrace Marshall, wide receiver for the Panthers. He's available in a lot of leagues. In fact, 99% of ESPN leagues and 96% of sleeper leagues. I don't care if you're in an 8-man or a 16-man, Terrace Marshall could be out there available, okay? And the Panthers are looking for wide receivers to step up. Maybe Marshall can be that dude. In week 4, Marshall and Adam Thielen were tied for the team lead in targets. They both had 10 targets. And Marshall turned his 10 targets into 13.6 points. Marshall was targeted on a higher percentage of his routes than any wide receiver on the Panthers. Could this be a sign of things to come? I don't know, maybe not. But is he worth adding and just waiting to see what happens? Yes, absolutely. My 9th priority pickup would be Curtis Samuel for the Washington Commanders. He's available in over 86% of almost every format out there, every platform out there. As much as we don't like it, I don't like it. I'm a Commanders fan. I'm a Jahan Dotson fan. I don't like to see the usage, but the Commanders are using Curtis Samuel. In week 4, he was used just as much as Jahan Dotson. Both had 8 total touches and both had a touchdown on the day. On the year, Curtis is averaging 5.8 touches per game and almost 11 PPR points. So is he a league winner? No, that's not what I'm claiming. Is he a locked and loaded starter every week? No. Can you flex him in deeper leagues? Yes, that's what I'm bringing you today. Again, spending 0% of my fab, just like the Washington Commanders defense, what we're trying to do is just pick him up with, priority, if that makes sense. Okay, and my 10th pickup is Jaleel McLaughlin. He's available in, 98% of almost every platform. A lot of people might have him higher than me. I guess I'll just explain why I don't have him as high as maybe some other people may. Javonte Williams, from my understanding, reading the reports today, and this could change, is not expected to miss much time, okay? From what I heard, he should miss at most a week. If not, he'll play next week. So if anyone out there is going to go in and spend 20% of their fab on Jaleel McLaughlin, they're going to regret it. You're just going to regret it. You're basically getting a 1 week play and you might not even feel comfortable playing him. Now, the reason he's on this list is because he has seen an uptick in involvement every week this year. You can see I looked at weeks 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. His snap percentage has gone up most weeks. His touches have gone up every week. His total yards have gone up every week. There's a chance that if Javonte misses a week and he flashes, he could grow into a larger role. That's why he's on this list. He's not on this list because I think you can start him. He's not on this list because I think he's a league winner or an extremely talented player. He's on this list because potential opportunities could come his way. And again, I'm not spending any percentage of fab. He's just a pickup, okay? Just a pickup, not someone I'm willing to spend any money on. And we'll end the show with some honorable mentions. These are guys who did not make the top 10, but depending on your format, if you're in even deeper leagues, these guys should be, someone you should consider. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, currently dealing with an injury, so Boyd could get an uptick in targets. Zach Evans, I want to stash him, dude. I really do, because, I know he's inactive, but keep in mind, Devon Achane was inactive. Achane's a different level of talent, but just because a player's been inactive doesn't mean they're bad. It just means maybe it hasn't been the right time. And with Ronnie Rivers currently backing up Kyron Williams, I like Zach Evans out of Ole Miss. I think he's worth stashing in deeper formats. Luke Musgrave should be rostered in any 12-man. Trey Palmer, if Mike Evans misses time, is worth a look. And then any handcuff that you can get your hands on in deeper leagues, they should be rostered, because you're kind of just a lottery ticket, right? You're buying a scratcher with those. So that is it for today. Because of London games over here in Australia, I went to bed at 6 p.m. and I woke up at 11:30 p.m. And now it's 3 p.m. when I finished recording this. I'm so tired. I'm so beat, but I wanted to make this content for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. Do me a favor, drop a like. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Support us if you want on the Flock Fantasy site. You can check out the pinned comment. That is it for today. Really appreciate you guys, and drop some thoughts in the chat, because if there's other people that you think that people should pick up, or you see players differently than I do, it will be helpful for the community to come together and bring all different sorts of opinions. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh,
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.